Welcome to the Thrive Talks podcast. We're your hosts, Jamie Smith and
Tara Goluska
from Thrive Art Studio.
We believe that being an artist is very important and often lonely work. So here at Thrive, we host monthly mastermind meetings with groups of female, gender fluid, and gender non-binary artists from all around the world. We support and help each other stay accountable and motivated in our art businesses and our art practices.
Thrive Mastermind actually started with just 6 of my artist friends at my studio in 2015. At that time, little did we know we were actually starting a movement.
At Thrive, we believe the keys to success are to make art, meet your people, and do the work.
Part of this doing the work are these monthly check-ins with each other. They help us stay inspired, motivated, and accountable, which is so hard when you're doing this all on your own. Mastermind meetings follow a specific structure, and this podcast follows the very same one.
So, whether you're a Thrive Mastermind member, a fellow artist, or you're just curious about what it is that artists do and talk about, we are excited to invite you to share in our discussions.
Welcome to episode 11. Today our guest is Flora Bowley. Welcome, Flora.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yay. I'm going to share a little bit about Flora in case you don't know about her. So Flora is an artist, author, and gentle guide whose soulful approach to the creative process has touched thousands of lives. Blending over 20 years of professional painting experience with her background as a yoga instructor, healer, and lifelong seeker, Flora's intimate in-person workshops and popular online courses have inspired a global network of brave painters while creating a holistic movement in the intuitive world. Flora's own vibrant collection of paintings can be found in galleries, shops, and on printed unique products around the world. Flora believes there is a world of creative expression waiting to unfold within every person who is brave enough to trust, let go, embrace the mystery, and play.
So Flora is the first ever guest on the Thrive Talks podcast who isn't a member of Thrive Mastermind. So we got to have tea with Flora, I don't know if it was a year ago or more than that. And we fell in love with her energy, honesty, and creative practice. And we're really excited to dive into our Thrive Mastermind questions with you today, Flora.
Thank you. I feel so honored to be the first outsider.
You're an honorary Thrive member today.
Yes.
I am honored.
That's great. So we always get started with our first question, and that is there something you've been working on that you're really excited about? So it's a great time for us to give each other a little update and talk about what we're excited about. Tara, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I am really excited because our May intake is coming up. So we do intakes 3 times a year, and we're at that sweet spot where it's really soon. So now it's just slotting everyone into their groups, sending them their member packages, and it's just that fun part of the whole thing, and kind of sigh of relief, it's going ahead. And and we also did a training night fairly recently. So members who've been with us a year or more can be leaders in Thrive Mastermind. And it was just so cool to hear from the leaders how much they've grown from Thrive and that they're really excited to step up into a leadership role. And women stepping up in roles of leadership is something that's really important to Jamie and I. And it's just so cool to see people just ready to go. And I'm super excited. And we've got a group starting in Victoria, BC.
Flora, that's our first group that we've ever started outside of Vancouver. And then we have our online program, but this group is happening in Victoria by a Victoria community member. And it's just the really cool time of getting a new community in a new city.
Oh, that's exciting. My best friend is actually an artist in Victoria, so I'll have to connect you guys.
Oh, that would be awesome. Oh. Yeah. And maybe Portland could be one day.
Oh, I'd love it. Portland.
Yeah.
Flora, what about you, hon? What have you been working on that you're really excited about?
Well, it's such an interesting question because usually it's like, well, I've got this new project or this new thing. And I do have some things cooking, but really I'm coming off this some downtime, which has felt really exciting because it honestly feels like it was years in the I need some downtime. And then I just would keep adding a new project on. So we finished building this new studio in my backyard in November, and we hosted one workshop in November to kind of kick it off. And then since then, I've just been in there painting and
Whoa.
yeah, just enjoying some like more balanced feeling life.
Mhm.
Not so much work. I tend to be more of like a workaholic on the spectrum. So yeah, I've just been kind of enjoying like even just being in my space without painting, but being in there and reading or whatever it is, just kind of like settling in.
Yeah.
Um, it's been so nice. And now we just kicked off our next bunch of workshops. We had one this last weekend, and then I've got one or two a month through the summer. So that I feel ready. It's like when you get to kind of fill your cup and do your own thing for a bit, then I don't know. I feel like I'm in a really great place to want to have people in there now with me.
It's funny how they say that balance and having quiet time really helps, but I don't think many of us listen to any of that. So it's nice to hear it works.
Yeah, and it was not so easy. It's not like I just like magically was like, no, I'm doing this. Like it was kind of a struggle to like even just adjust to having time because I also stopped doing this subscription program that I had going for the past 2 years, which essentially was like creating a new e-course every month. So
Oh,
I was just
wow.
I know, like I look back and I'm like, I don't even know how I did that,
No
but
kidding.
I just
That's
created,
brutal.
I created so much content, which, I still have it and it still is there available. So it's like, it keeps giving, which is nice. But I just need, even though everyone in my world was like, never, stop a subscription program. Like that was the advice that everybody was giving me. Cause it's like, you have people's credit cards and you just, and
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I have got to stop this. Cause it was too much,
Yeah.
So it like such a freeing thing to do, and then to have the new studio kind of ready at that same time, it was just like, okay, if there's ever a time to like quiet down, like this is it. And winter is so perfect for that too.
Mhm.
So
Well, it's so interesting when you get advice from other people because I often like, want to look at them and say, why don't you try it? Try making an e-course every month and then tell me that I should keep on going, you know?
exactly.
Yeah. Well, good for you because I'm sure it's hard to let that go when you've done it. Like you're known for that, you've done that a long time.
Yeah, and it was like a major source of income for my
Mhm.
business too. I mean, really, that was definitely felt a little crazy to stop,
Yeah.
but it was just one of those moments. I was like, I have to trust that I need to, take care of myself first, and that money will come and when it comes and however it comes.
Totally. And if you have energy, you never know what other income you're going to make because you can see, you're out of the weeds of just constantly creating
Exactly.
content.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, good for you.
Thank you.
So I am back, Flora. I was in Australia for a month. I went to a friend's wedding and I actually didn't do work for a month. I
Woo!
don't know if we can even imagine it.
It's hard.
Yeah, it was really hard. And I felt really, really blessed to have Tara on my team because she was holding down the fort here for Thrive. And I felt really confident about that. And it's interesting setting rules to relax. You can tell that A type. But Tara and I talked about how it was not going to be helpful for her if I was trying to look at email or trying to get involved from the outside. So it was when I felt it was really hard, I kept thinking, this is the best thing for Tara is that I just be quiet and stay away in Australia. So it was wonderful. I totally unwound and felt the same way, Flora, like coming back into life, just excited and having energy. And what I'm glad I did, because when we came back, so we moved Thrive into a new co-working space, which for us is very different. We always operated out of an art studio. So kind of a weird change for us, but it's been amazing. And putting artists and putting ourselves into a different environment, into an entrepreneur environment as well as very tech focused has been really neat. And so we've done murals for them and we've started a mural residency program. And Tara and I had said we were going to do a mural back in the fall, or maybe even before that. I
think it's like maybe in the first episode of the podcast. We're like, we're going to paint a mural.
Yeah. It was in this summer, right? Last summer. And it turns out, as usual, I can just help people by organizing them. And everyone is happy to figure out the process on their own. So we didn't end up painting one. But right when I got back from Australia, there's this really neat cube, and we'll post a picture of it in the show notes. And it's sort of this little workspace they have at the profile, the co-working space. So Tara and I, we had a week of art making scheduled, and we thought, why don't we give the mural a go? And we felt energized about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned so much. I would like to shout out any artists that use painting tape to make geometric patterns. And Flora, I feel like this is the opposite to your process. Tara designed it, so it was 4 colors, and we had to tape off every color, and then you had to paint in that one color, let it dry overnight, so you couldn't just go and do it. It had to be over this. It's just not my jam. Basically, it was timed, it was intricate, and you had to be really precise. So, learned a lot. We kind of joke about it that we've already retired from doing geometric murals.
Yes.
It was our first and probably our last, but it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I'm very proud of us. And it was fun because we roped a bunch of people into helping us. Yes. Jamie's brother, my husband, friends, anyone. We're just like, want to come hang out?
Yeah. And it's fun too because with that process, because you're taping everything off, people who, like my brother, who basically doesn't have any artistic skills, still felt really comfortable because they're painting in. So it's like painting a wall. So they really enjoyed it, and we did it. That's all that really matters.
Good job. It sounds like you learned a lot too.
Yeah. I think an intuitive mural might be the next step. Very different.
I would recommend that. I've done a couple of those, and they're really fun.
That's awesome. How big have you gone with your work?
The biggest mural I've done was kind of recently at my friend's restaurant, and it was like a 10-foot by 20-foot wall.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty big. And
really
I didn't have a plan. They gave me the theme of forever spring.
Ooh.
was the kind of the vibe, and I know that what their business is all about. So I had like a general color palette, but other than that, it was just like I was making it up as I went along.
That would be
the
fun.
opposite of painter's tape for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I can't wait to see it, though. I'm going to go look it up for sure.
Yeah, and maybe send us a picture of that mural. We'd love to put it in the show notes.
Oh yeah, we'll do.
That would be cool. Because I think we have with the mural residency program, we've seen a lot of artists that don't even paint, like some that are collage artists, but they've wanted to try murals. And so to see your work that's very abstract and in the moment as a mural, I think would be really inspiring.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So our next question we ask is, share something you learned this month. So Tara, what have you learned this month?
Yeah, so I'm sure you're probably the same, Flora, but I love being able to connect and refer awesome people to other awesome people. And so I had that opportunity recently, and I got a really lovely thank you back that kind of taught me a little bit. So it was a really nice, I got a thank you for the referral, and which is kind of the common practice. But then I also got a follow-up after they had worked together, and it really made my day as a person who, just loves to do that and wants to help, to see, because, you always wonder, like, was that a good referral? Did they get along? Was it all I dreamed it could be? And then the reply back was basically kind of like a happy thank you, more please kind of a format. So basically she shared how well it had gone, how thankful she was, and then also, and this was really very smart on her part, that kind of person is exactly who she's looking for. So please send me more of those kinds of amazing people. And it was just really great because I felt like, okay, I got it right on that and I was able to help. But it also made me think about how I could do a little bit better in my follow-ups with people, just to let them know, hey, like, thank you. I do really appreciate you helping me out. And then, so for example, like if someone connected me with someone who loves tiny, delicate, detailed work, I'd be like, happy, thank you, more please. But if they connected me to somebody who, say, wanted me to paint, well, a geometric pattern on their wall.
Well, I saw your first
I know
piece,
I've
Tara.
done one, but I'm out of that business. So I could say, thank you so much, but actually that was a one-off project, and I'm really looking for people who like this kind of a thing. So then they can be educated, because basically everyone, I think, wants to help. So by educating them a little bit more on how they can help me, how I can help them, then we can all win.
And it's always scary for people. I know for me, sometimes I'm nervous to refer because you wonder, is this the right fit? You don't, like you said, you don't know. And especially I think as artists, we fall into the category of like the arty friend. So you can get a lot of random referrals for things. So it's really smart. Awesome. Flora, what about you, hon? What have you learned this month?
Well, I just thought of one simple thing, which is an app that I'm probably the last person to use. I feel like I'm always the last to do things, but the Planoly app, which like allows you to pre-write your Instagram posts in like on your computer versus doing it all on your phone. My friend told me about it because I was taking a trip and I really wanted to not be on my phone when I was taking my trip, and so she was like, "Oh, just like load everything into this app and then it's so easy." And so I did some of that, and it's a great tool to have. I tend to still find myself just like typing everything on the fly in the moment, truly Instagram style. But yeah, it's a good one. And it's something that I can use when it might be a helpful thing. I also just love that I can type on my computer and not on my phone.
Yes.
Well, when I read this on our show notes, Flora, I am just want to give you huge props that you do this all on the fly. I would have assumed. So I plan everything out and schedule everything. And then looking at your feed, I was like, oh my gosh, you work so hard at it. So I commend you for doing it in the moment.
Well, thank you. I really wish I was more of a planner and that I could get a little ahead of things, but it's kind of goes against my nature in a lot of ways. And so it's like my constant struggle is to find the balance.
Yeah, I hear that for sure. And actually, that's something a lot of our members have shared, where it's just, so some days, you're flowing and you're ready to, you know exactly what you want to share and you've got the perfect picture. But other days, it's just like, oops, I haven't posted anything and I have no idea what I'm going to say. So we here at Thrive, we have these things called quick wins for our members that are basically like how-to videos. So we have one on the most basic content plan for social media to make it kind of easy and fun and allow for a little bit of spontaneity. So if you would like, I can send you that and you can check it out and you can see about how maybe if you feel like it, adding a little bit of like maybe 2 planned posts a week or something just to.
That would be perfect.
You're an honorary member, so you get any content you want today.
Yeah, I'll add it in the show notes as well as a gift to everybody, because I know people have found it. It's just helpful to just get a little bit at least feel ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and like you said, Flora, it's when life things happen and you just want to make sure your business is taken care of so that you can go live life, and it's useful for that for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to take more and more breaks from my phone, whether it's like an afternoon or a whole day or a couple days. I feel like we all understand the need for that. And so, yeah, these kinds of apps are super helpful.
Yeah, it scares me when I've almost blacked out and my phone's in my hand and Instagram is open and I'm thinking, how did this happen? And it's just so natural that I subconsciously grabbed my phone and started going on Instagram, and that is terrifying. So
yeah. And now the apps that have partnerships with Instagram, they can auto post. So if you schedule it all properly, it will just post instead of having to wait for that notification, which is thrilling and a little scary, because I do like to double check for typos, but whatever.
Yeah. And you can also get into a bit of a mood when you're scheduling. I have, and sometimes I find, because I am typing on my computer, they can turn a little blog-like, and so I sometimes overshare, and then I get a notification to post, and I thought sometimes I'm like, whoa, okay. And I have to decide if I'm brave or if I'm going to edit. So if it's auto posting, there's no choice.
I'm going back.
Awesome. Well, this month I actually learned about drawing. So I was in Australia and moving around and had a journal in my bag, but in the past I've actually never felt super confident about drawing. And so when I go to the studio, I'm all set up. I usually create my compositions in Photoshop and then will project them and draw that way and create them into paintings. And I really enjoyed in Australia at this point. Was very relaxed. I basically got to the point of boredom, which doesn't happen in normal life for me. And I was sitting there and I had my journal open and I was done writing and I just started drawing flowers because I'd spent the day in the botanical gardens. And I'm now officially obsessed, which I've never really enjoyed it. And so my sketchbook is halfway full and I've been carrying it around with me. And my big lesson was that it doesn't have to look like a painting. It doesn't have to be a full setup, and I can kind of do it anywhere, which has been huge for me.
That is huge.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful drawings as well.
They're
I love
fun.
them.
Yeah. I don't know what they'll become either, which is kind of interesting.
So nice to make things that you don't actually have like an end concept for.
Yeah.
Like there's not a reason you're doing it just to do it. It's some of my better things happen in that space.
Totally. And I noticed the last meeting I had, I was asking the girls about, do they ever sell their sketches or sell their studies? And I was laughing to myself because it's the two sides of me fighting, right? The creative side and the business side. And the creative side's just saying, no, these are just for you and enjoy and relax. So I've embraced that now and I'm just going to do them as much as I can. So it's hard to fight ourselves.
It is.
So our third question is, what or who are you inspired by right now? Tara, tell us about it.
So right now I'm inspired by the work of Susanna Montague. Susanna's a ceramic artist here in Canada, and she's also a Thrive member, and she had an exhibition on called Of Things I Can't Unthink at the Seymour Gallery. And I went there 3 times. I could not get enough. And she did an inner critic talisman workshop, and she also did an artist talk. So I was like at all of the things. And I'm a big fan of her work, but I really took a lot of heart in her sharing her artist journey. So I loved when she said that everything she's done in her life has informed who she is as an artist, and it all leads us to where we need to be, which was just really what I needed to hear at the time and kind of continue to need to hear. So she's actually a guest on the Jealous curator, Danielle Chris's podcast, and she shares quite a bit of this story, but just short notes, she's like worked in film. She's had quite a journey to become a parent to her little twins. She's an immigrant, and like all of these things that have made her a full and rich human also make her a full and rich artist. And it just really took the pressure off myself, and it also honestly has really fired me up because I want to be the kind of artist that makes work that is that good.
She's good.
Real good.
She's a ceramicist, and because that's so not my medium, it's neat to see so much skill in something that I feel so incapable of. And it's just her show, it was silent because you're just walking around in wonder. So it's something special when you see art like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome. So you'll have to listen to the podcast with her, Flora. It's really beautiful.
I want to. I can't wait to see your work.
Yeah. Flora, what are you inspired by this month?
Well, I've been really inspired by the work of an artist named Orly Avinieri, and she is a woman that I've had the great pleasure of collaborating with a number of times now. We have a workshop that we've created together, And so I've really gotten to know her work uh, really intimately because of working together in that capacity. And she just has this beautiful way of she's a mixed media artist, and she brings in like photos and letters and all sorts of sort of common mixed media. Like she works with rust a lot and just like a lot of interesting things. And so I've been taking just concepts from her work and adding it into my big paintings, because usually I just work with paint. Like I'm kind of a always been kind of a purist like that. Like it's just paint on canvas or panel. But I've been working a little bit. I My mom passed away a couple years ago, and I've inherited just a ton of family like ephemera, like letters and pictures and things that I have so much of that I just feel like if they're just sitting in boxes forever, it's like, what's the point, right? So I've been actually putting these things in some of my paintings, and it's just felt like a really new way of working and a really nice way to honor like my family history and my people. So yeah, it's been really inspiring
That's
lately.
really exciting. Have you often or have you before collaborated with an artist like that?
I've done collaborations, like painting collaborations where we're both creating a piece together, but in terms of teaching, like a whole workshop, she's definitely the first one that I've done that with. And it came about in this really organic way because we were both teaching at an art retreat where we were kind of just put together. Meaning the students would come and have one day with me and then the next day with her.
Oh,
And so
okay.
we did that like 4 times over. Actually, it was like a 2-week long thing. And so with each new group, our workshops like started to like melt together.
Oh,
That's
cool.
cool.
That was really cool. We were like, wow, like all this stuff that I'm doing with them on the first day can just get like upcycled into her process. And it made what they were doing with me and with her more interesting because of it. And so now we have a 5-day workshop where the first 2 days are with me, the second or the third and fourth days are with her. And then the fifth day is just like the people are just have so much to work with at that point that they're like, just, yeah, it's just a free for all. So yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
been a really beautiful coming together with another artist, like so symbiotic and lovely.
I love too how it sounds like that was very unexpected. It was you going to do an opportunity and it's just saying yes to things really
Yeah.
can bring something very new to your practice.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. And we'd known each other for a little while before that and just like had been admiring each other's work from afar kind of thing. And so it was like the person who put us together definitely, I think, recognized that we would be kind of a good duo. So yeah, it's so fun. I think I've been teaching for 8 years now. And while I love it so much, just to infuse the teaching with some really new energy has been something that's I've needed.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And I can sounds like similar to me is that I was doing a lot of things on my own and it's just so nice to have a partner come into your life like Tara. It sounds like you've been teaching for so long. It's kind of neat to do something with someone else.
Yeah, and someone that you really trust, like I heard, like what you were saying when you went to Australia and you just felt like totally okay to leave because you had this other person. Like
Yeah.
when I'm teaching with Orly and it's her days to teach, like I'm just basking in her in her
Yeah.
expertise. It's like I just trust her so much, and so it's like those people. It's so beautiful. I love that you guys have that together. It's kind of rare.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful. It works.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a gift for sure.
Mm.
Awesome. And so I have been inspired by, did I get it right? Is it supposed to be
Yes.
what I'm inspired by?
Yeah, you're doing
Just
great.
taking it all in and
I'd
enjoying
start
the
yelling
conversation.
and beating you if you got it wrong.
So I've been really inspired by Australian botanicals. So on my trip, something that kept occurring, I kept being drawn to. You go for big walks when you travel, and I seem to always find my way to a botanical garden. So I enjoyed it so much. I went to one in Melbourne, Sydney, and then Tasmania. And in Tasmania, they have an Arctic botanical garden. So you walk into this freezing cold, little tiny room to see what plants can actually grow there. There are not many. They are green and very low to the ground. So the poor little guys, but it was beautiful. And I just found it so inspiring to see the different colors they have there and the weirdest flowers. There was some crazy things happening in nature. And from being the West Coast, you're used to those colors and what grows here, and it's very different there. So I loved it and really enjoyed the wandering that was happening there. So I'm actually trying to bring some more wandering into my Vancouver life, and I'm working on it.
Yeah.
So, a new and useful resource you found this month. Tara, what have you found for us?
Yeah, so we recently found Thinkific. We've heard of it before, but we're now using it for our leadership training. So before, we'd all gather together and basically Jamie and I would go through everyone's binders with them and just talk at them about every possible thing to do with a Thrive leader. But now with a leadership training that they can do online, they can do it kind of at their leisure, and they can also refer back to the information when they actually need it. And it just feels really good that it's all in one place and we just don't need to talk at people. Instead, they can bring their questions to us. And actually, I was kind of curious what course builder you use, Flora.
Mine is all pretty custom. It's through a WordPress site. And so I just had my web team build like a membership area that people log in through. And yeah, it was not a simple thing.
Yeah. Well, good for you, because we've always been just intimidated, like another thing to add. And Thinkific it's very interesting. They've done such a good job. It's drag and drop. It's the easiest thing. So any artists out there that have been wanting to do an online course and feeling intimidated, Thinkific.
Yeah, so you could start with that, and then if you want a really custom, thing that lives on your website, then you know that it's worth it to invest in, getting that web team.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm so happy to know about that, because I often get people asking me about, people who are interested in making online courses. And I'm just like, oh man, like you don't want to do what I did.
Yeah, I was going to say, how long ago was it that you started your online courses?
My first course came out in 2010.
Okay, yeah. So you had to just build what you needed.
I know, and I actually remember thinking like back in those days of like someday they'll just be platforms.
Yeah, this is it.
They're here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's we also use Squarespace for the website. Tara's a guru, and
I'm not a guru. It's
I'm
drag and
giving
drop
you
as well, but thank you.
Lots of credit here. No, she's just, well, I think Tara's really good at just sitting down and figuring it out. And so it builds, I see her doing it, and then I've been able to do my own with building confidence. So Squarespace is drag and drop. And so I feel like when we found Thinkific, I was like, oh, the Squarespace version of online courses. So we're pretty excited.
You are listening to a portable Thrive Mastermind meeting. Thrive Mastermind is a year-long program, and members connect every month for support, accountability, and community. Applications are always open for visual artists here in Vancouver, Canada, and we have an online program for artists all over the world. Let's hear from our member, Sandeep Johal.
Thrive, there's so many opportunities that come through Thrive, and calls for submission I've responded to and I've gotten because someone had posted it there, but I might not have seen it otherwise. And just like the tremendous support that you get to just keep on going, and the inspiration you get from all these other female artists who are doing incredible things. And I think that's the thing I love about Thrive. It's run by 2 women and it's for women. And I think we need more of that.
Awesome. And Flora, do you have a resource for us?
Yes. Well, there's 2 things that I've been enjoying in the last couple weeks. I have just an ongoing obsession with hearing people's perspective on creativity in general. I see my work kind of, when I look forward, I see my work going in a way, my teaching work, where I will always teach painting in some capacity, but I'm also just interested in creative living and creative being and thinking. And so I'm sort of at the beginning stages of forming a new retreat that's really focused on that and less on the, let's make a painting from start to finish. So I discovered a really wonderful audiobook by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, who wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves. And it's called The Creative Fire: Myths and Stories on the Cycles of Creativity. And it's free on Audible, actually.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, I just have been loving it. I've been listening to it in my car, and like she just weaves in all these Greek mythology and her with her own life experience, and she's just such a wise woman. So lots of really juicy little bits there. And then I just read a book called Blessed Are the Weird.
I like it.
That is a fun
I
title.
know, great title. This guy Jacob Nordby wrote it, and I just met him recently, so he gave it to me. And it's just like basically talking about, people that are sort of inclined towards creative thinking and doing and being are like, we're blessed. We have this different way of experiencing life, and so it was just a really fun book, with again lots of little nuggets. It's underlined, like almost every page I underline something, so always a good sign.
Yeah, it's good when if someone asks to borrow the book and you've written almost as much as the author, you know that it's a good book. Yeah, we talk about this a lot at Thrive, actually, because I feel as artists, especially when we're trying to make a living from our work, it's very easy to feel disheartened and bogged down. And usually as a creative, you're doing another job or you have your family, like you're doing so many things, right? So it's easy to feel maybe a little frustrated sometimes, but it is such a gift that we get to experience the world in this way.
Yeah, we're blessed weirdos.
And I'm preaching to the choir, though, it sounds like. So the resource I found this month, I actually listened to in a botanical garden in Sydney. And that's the Jealous Curator interview with Amy Henny Brown. And Amy has been a dear friend for a few years now. I got to meet her through Thrive, and she's now a leader. And she's someone who I've always known is very wise, but it's so neat to hear her talk to Danielle because she's asking her questions that, her and I have never spent time talking about. And it's a lot about her process and her beliefs and her feelings about paper. And she is just someone who knows her material. And you can tell she's taken the time to learn what she's using to make her work with. And it's very connected to her process, her concepts. So she believes in keeping things very archival, and she's spent time archiving work in museums. And so I was really inspired by her gathering of knowledge with her craft.
And that she's so willing to share it freely. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. It's a very long episode because Danielle tricked her. And the first part of the call was just supposed to be Danielle and her talking about paper and about ideas on how to make work larger. And then it's turned into an hour and a half episode that's just awesome. So highly recommend.
Yeah, must listen.
And question 5, what are you personally and or professionally proud of this month? Tara, what are you proud of?
Well, I was proud to be a guest along with Jamie on the new podcast, Two Artists Walk into a Bar. So our amazing member, Carol McQuaid, has started a podcast, and basically 2 artists, or 3 in this case, walk into a bar and we get a drink and chat in the bar, and that's the podcast. So it was I think it was a Monday morning, something like that. So we went to our local juice bar. We didn't have any booze, but it was really fun. And it was also cool because, so often you get caught up in the day-to-day and the deadlines and what's not working and how to fix it, and on I could go. But it was really nice to just reflect on the past time that we've had with Thrive and the things that have happened. And it was also just cool to talk to Carol.
And we had delicious
so
tea.
Fun and really nice tea. And and it really kind of put things into perspective for me when I needed them. I'd had a bad day at work, and then I was just like, oh, everything's great. Yeah.
I also was really impressed with Carol because she's someone who similar to you, Flora, where, you need an online class, so you figure out how to build something. Carol decided that she was going to have a podcast, so she figured it out, and all she had with her was a purse and then this case. It was very small, and the case had 3 mics in it, and all the equipment was traveling with her. And she's now done almost 10 episodes, and she's headed to do teaching on a cruise ship, which is very neat. And she's arranged podcast interviews all over the world for the next 2 months.
That is such a great concept, and I love the name of the podcast.
Right?
So good. And if you swear, she doesn't mind swearing, but it's a sound of 2 glasses clinking, and it's really cute.
And it was neat to be, because we record our podcast, well, we've really upgraded. It started in a pantry at my house, but now we're just in the studio with proper equipment. But it was interesting to see Carol. It's all about the ambient noise, and it's all about being out in public. And so we're having this conversation, and people are buying juice, and it was neat to be out in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was cool.
Flora, what are you proud of this month, my dear?
Well, so I just had a workshop that ended Sunday, just a couple days ago. And I feel so proud of it. I've taught workshops in a lot of different locations around the world and different scenarios. And then I rented a space here in Portland for 3 years, taught them there. And the whole time I was dreaming of this space that I would own and build and have it be just exactly what I wanted. And so I'm so grateful that I, have done that. We had the opportunity to build. I bought a house that had a huge yard because I knew I wanted to do this. And so then over the course of last year, we built the studio, and it's my dream come true.
Oh,
yay.
It really is. I'm just I look back there every day and I'm oh my God, there it is. And so, just to host this experience for people, I think more and more people are just craving meaningful experiences that connect them to themselves, to other people, to their creativity, anything that makes people feel more alive and in touch, right, is something that's so in need these days. And so to be able to create the environment and the experience for people to come and just really get immersed in this luscious place and the whole experience is so satisfying to me. I think there's a big part of me that just loves to be a hostess. I love thinking of all the little details. And this time, flowers are blooming in Portland. So we had a flower petal path, leading from the street all the way back. And so many little things like that, really allowed people to just feel like they were in sort of a magical place. And, I feel really proud of it. I feel really proud of how it's all come together.
That is so neat. Well, we got to see your last space, and Tara and I left, and because we were running Thrive out of my art studio at the time, and now that's where Tara and I make work now. And we both left we were in awe, it just, all the plants and the tea, and it just felt like us, and it was stepping into a different place. And we left scheming and dreaming about what Thrive would look like later. And so it's important to be able to visit creative spaces, because it does transfer into your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys need to come down and see my new space now.
Oh man. Are there flower petals all the time? Because that sounds awesome.
Not all the time, but
we'll bring our own little bridesmaids and throw it as we walk down.
There you go.
Yeah, you don't need to invite us twice. We're there.
That is really, truly amazing. What a accomplishment for you and your career.
Thank you. Yeah, it feels big.
And I can't help myself. I have to say, 2 of our little Thrive members were at your workshop, and they were so excited, and I can't wait to hear from them how awesome it was.
Yeah, they were a delight, to say the least.
Good. So this month, what I'm really proud of is having that time away. It actually, Flora, you kind of touched on this. It was actually pretty difficult and something that I had to really be in check with at the beginning to just relax. But yeah, give it a couple days, then thought, this is my new life. Poor Tara, I was so relaxed. I think she thought I'd never come back.
Yeah.
But it was just wonderful to go away and have that experience myself, but also, like we've talked about, just to know that your partner is taking care of things. There's been many a time in my life that the minute I've left, nothing's happened, or whatever project I've been on is completely stopped, and it can really make taking time away not worth it. And I agree. I am also I'm just going to say it. I'm a workaholic. I'm working through it.
You.
And so this was something that I just felt, this is a new stage where I can take time away, and that's such a gift. So I'm proud, but I'm also grateful to Tara. And I'm looking into her eyes right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud of you too, because that was hard.
Yeah,
That
well,
was
Tara
hard.
has to take 3 weeks in
Yeah.
August, so we'll see how she does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Come on, August. Let's do it.
Awesome. So our last question that we always like to end on, because we want our members to share what they are struggling with, what they need advice on. And we say at Thrive, we can't promise you the full answer, but we promise, I call them threads. We promise you little bits that you can start following and doing the work throughout the month to get to that next step. So Tara, is there anything that we can start working on for you? What are you struggling with?
Yeah, so this isn't necessarily a struggle of my own, but I thought, I've got Flora here, and I know of a struggle a few of our artists bring up from month to month, and I can't help them with it because I don't teach workshops. So we've got a lot of members who teach workshops or are thinking of doing it. And so sometimes they can feel like it takes away from their practice. Or there are other members who find teaching gives them clarity as well as provides a more steady income. And then there's all of the experiences in between. And so I guess, Flora, I'd just love to hear how your experiences have been with workshops. How did you get into them, and how are they part of your practice now?
So my story is that I was a working artist for about 15 years prior to ever thinking of teaching a workshop. So I was, making paintings, selling paintings, but I got to a place with that where I thought that would be my ultimate dream job, from the time I was like in high school. And then when I really did get there, I felt like something was really missing for me. And I know that's not true for a lot of other artists. So that was my story, is that I just was kind of lonely, kind of isolated, lacking a little bit of purpose around why I was doing what I was doing. And so I eventually started teaching, and that was like the first retreat I ever taught. Everything suddenly made sense about my whole entire life.
Whoa.
That's awesome.
Dramatic, but I'd been a yoga teacher for years. I had like done all these different things, and like when I had the group in the room, I just brought them through an experience that was very much reflective of how I do things. So we started with yoga, we made an intention, we lit candles, we talked about where we find inspiration, we did a walking meditation. Like all of these things were part of the painting process. And so people just loved it, and it was something that I think at the time was kind of, not a lot of other people were doing it in that way, doing intuitive painting with all these other sort of aspects. And so for me, it was like, oh my gosh, everything makes sense and I love it. And I just really, I did just love teaching. I just, to me, it's like, I love people. I love seeing other people light up with creativity, like discovering it. For me, I've always been connected to creativity. It's always been the thing I've done. I've done it well my whole life. It's been the thing I've been encouraged to do. But when I can see someone walk in the room that, maybe has never painted before or has all the stories around, I'm not an artist, I can't do this, and then watching them realize that they can, to me, that's the best.
Yeah.
That is so much more interesting to me at this point in my life than making a painting myself, even though I always will be making paintings also. That's like part of the equation. So for me, it's just been really, really fulfilling. And then from a financial perspective, it's really helped things out. When I was just selling paintings, I was just squeaking by. It was so inconsistent, as a lot of people listening probably know.
Yeah.
And so for me, like the e-courses and the workshops, it was just like, okay, like here we go. So suddenly I felt like so much more secure around money stuff, which was a big relief, as you can imagine. And so now the workshops are, I've been redesigning my website a little bit recently, and just really, getting honest with the fact that the teaching is more of what I think about and get excited about than my own art these days. And so that's really been that's a shift, over the years, and that feels fine. I still love painting. Like I said, I'll always be a person who loves to paint, but I would feel I just am really grateful to have the teaching and finding my own way of creatively crafting experiences for people is a creative process itself. Like the flower petals and like the whole thing of bringing a group of people together and moving them through a 4-day process is a creative. I see it as a really creative, outlet. So I have a lot of fun with that too. So yeah, it's a really big part of my world these days.
I feel so similar to you in a lot of the ways you're talking, because I set out to be a full-time artist and was hustling in that direction. And then with Thrive, and my background is in teaching, with Thrive, it's so fulfilling. It sort of allows me to hit all the values that I have and then also see people grow. And that's the teacher side of me that I just couldn't let go. So whether before I was, going for coffees with people, or people would always say you should go into counseling or become a coach or something like that. And it's just because of how I am. But with Thrive, it's exactly like you said, those are the things I think about and get so excited about. And I still do with my work, but I'm going to ride that wave until that shifts back, and then I'll need to focus more on my practice. But I find Thrive very creative as well.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not for everybody teaching, I think, some people are like, oh, maybe I'll try teaching. And a question to ask yourself is do you really love being with people?
Yeah.
Do you, and can you be really patient and all of those things? It's in some ways it's like a customer service job, on a certain level. And so I do love people, and I love everything I just, mentioned before. And so it's a really good fit. But I think, getting honest with yourself about some of that stuff is a good thing to think about if you're considering teaching.
And we have found, the admin side of things has grown so much with, of course, as Thrive has grown. And it's something that I knew, but you don't know until your inbox is full. And that's not how it was when I was painting. There were times where I wish my inbox had been full, but just being really realistic too about the hours we spend, our job is on our computer and it's not in a studio. And so I think you're right to be really honest about what you actually want to do with your time.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
I have a full-time admin person now because there's so much of that involved.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, that's a dream, Flora. We're talking dreams.
Yeah. Rub it in, but just to make the point of that's real.
Yeah.
That is a real part of the world.
Yeah, totally. Well, awesome. I'm so happy that you listened to yourself, because you've helped so many people. It's very exciting.
It's such a joy. I love to know that I'm actually making a difference out there,
Yeah, that's great. And Flora, do you have anything this month that you wanted to chat about?
Well, there's one thing that I'm crafting it's very much just in my brain space at this point is actually a teacher training, which feels like really new territory and like totally blowing things up to a different level. But I've had students asking for it for years, and I can only teach so many people in person a year. It's really pretty limited. And so I'm going to do a teacher training. I'm going to teach other people how to guide people through this process. And at the moment, I just feel like completely overwhelmed with how to convey, it's like that same feeling I've had when I've sat down to write books about an intuitive painting process where you're like, oh my God, there's so many subtleties and it's not linear and all those things that I'm at the beginning of the mountain right now in terms of how to try to get this all in a format where I can actually pass it to somebody else. So anyways, that's my most current feeling of overwhelm.
Yeah. So would these teachers be then like joining your team, or you're just teaching people how to do it and then they do their own thing, or how's
Yeah,
it?
the second. Yeah, they would be
Okay.
doing their own thing. Yeah. And I would be, there'll be like a page on my website that has a list of where they're teaching. And so people that do want to have the in-person experience can have more options. Cause I take 14 students in my workshops. They sell out in like an hour mostly because
Yeah.
it's just, it's very limited spaces. And so there's always people that are just like, I've been trying to get in for years. So
Yeah.
it feels like time.
Uh-huh.
And like I said, I'm feeling on a personal level just ready to do some new things too.
Yeah.
And so I haven't felt ready until now to really pass this particular process on, but I feel ready. I've seen how it helps people. I've seen the results of it. And so to think of being able to have more people have access to that, I think is, that's reason
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. Well, this is our experience here at Thrive that may be useful for you because when I started with one group and, I was leading it and it looked very different than it does today. It was every month. I always laugh that first group were such guinea pigs because every month someone would say like, oh, I'd like to share, what I'm proud of. And then the next meeting there'd be like, what are you proud of added to the list of questions. And then, I was running 3 groups and then I was running 6 groups and, they're monthly, but once you start adding in that many, it's hard you want to stay fresh and you want to stay excited. So then I had to teach Tara how to lead a group. And it was so hard to really convey all the pieces because there's things that I would do that I've done for years because I'm very naturally a host and a teacher. So I remember I was sitting there and I was just trying to sort of brain dump every single thing that happens. And so I started telling Tara about, okay, if someone's late, what I do, because the door would lock, is that I go and get them. But as we walk, I tell them where we're at in the discussion. I tell them exactly where they're sitting. I make them feel really comfortable so that before we even get to the room, they know exactly where to sit. They come in and they're a part of it. But that was something that I had just done naturally. I'd never thought, this is what I'm doing. And that was really overwhelming. But once I started getting in the flow and talking through with Tara and her asking questions, she would run a meeting and then come back and ask me questions and say, this happened. And we just started writing all of this down. And so now we have, what's kind of interesting, is a whole sort of chapter in our training about what if. So because we want it to be natural for our leaders, we want them to be listening, and it's people, so you can't control what's going to happen, but we also want them to go in feeling really confident. And I think our leaders they're the most interested in the what ifs because it's, as a new person, it's the scary things. Like, what if someone's an hour late? What if they're 20 minutes late? We really
What
made...
if people disagree? Like,
Yeah.
we cover everything because like we attract a certain type of member and we also are looking for a certain personality type in our leaders. So it means people who are really conscientious, who care a lot and who want to do a really good job, which also can translate into getting a little nervous and you want to do such a good job that you get lost in the what ifs. So we're like, okay, how can we help them feel comfortable and confident? So we cover every possible what if and add to them as we go.
Yeah, and we do have, and then we say to members or to leaders, let us know if you have a new one to add. So it's been a funny kind of game almost, like, guess what? This could happen. We're like, oh, okay. So I do feel like there's been a lot of versions of the training. So I would say that to you just to help you in this overwhelmed state. It started with just pieces of paper and Tara writing stuff down. Then it turned into a binder that we gave out. Then that binder went through another revamp with scripts we added. And now our final, hopefully, knock on wood, our final version is going to be videos using Thinkific. And so they get their binder, but then they also get videos so that they can watch throughout when they need to remember scripts and that sort of thing.
Love it. Yeah, that what if piece is really helpful. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, it makes it feel, everyone feels really prepared then, and it helps you kind of get out as you're going through your process because it's so natural to you. It's just thinking through things that in the past have come up. It really helped me.
Yeah.
But I will say it's been so, like, I'm at a loss for words at honestly how incredible it's been watching women step up to become leaders and take that role in this community, how they've connected with other people in ways that I can't anymore. Like I can't run 20 groups. And so I think it's going to be a new level for you of intense gratitude, as well as really feeling proud that you've created a whole network of people experiencing this. So it's well worth the time because it is a lot of time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we're really excited. Let us know if you need any help along the way.
Thank you. I super appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, my kind of struggle came out of taking this time away. And then it was actually a post that you posted on Instagram, Flora, about you stepping into this time off. And I think it was a picture of you just kind of sitting in the studio. I think maybe a blank canvas, but you posted and your caption just said, I finally have all this time and I'm feeling really lost. And that post you then shared in a newsletter. And so my question to you is kind of how that process went for you. And did you enjoy taking the large chunk of time off? Would you do that differently and take it more in between? Tara and I try to take a week a month, but there's been times where we thought, should we be taking, a full 2 months all just to work on our practice? So I'd love to just hear how that experience was for you.
Yeah, it definitely took, it was a roller coaster. There was moments where I just was like super inspired and like loving it, and other times that I felt a little bit more lost. But I think the nature of my business is one that I've never really taken, or at least, I haven't ever really taken. Like, I'm still writing newsletters, for example. I'm still posting on social media. And so even though I'm not creating an e-course every month or teaching as many workshops as I usually do, the last few months have not felt like, oh, I'm just on this big extended like studio vacation,
Right.
So I'm still doing a lot of things to, meeting with my assistant and all of that kind of stuff. So keeping things moving along. So yeah, it's, honestly, one thing that has been amazing is that I've just, with more time on my hands, I've been able to do, like, I've been going to the gym a lot.
Wow, self-care. What?
What a concept. Like, I've been going to the gym like a whole bunch of times a week, and like I was not doing that before, and so just like cooking more, taking my dog on longer walks, like things that are just that you get to do when you have time to do them. And so that stuff, more than anything else, has been the real gift in all of this, is just like taking it all down a few notches, and like sinking into like a little more simple healthy lifestyle.
That's huge. And I'm sure that makes you more creative and better at the business side and all the things.
Totally. Yes, it all feeds back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the way you put that, taking it down a few notches, because I'm a person of extremes and so is Jamie. It's like all or nothing. So, of course, we're like, oh, well, we're either 100% in Thrive or we're taking 2 months off to focus on our art practices. But yeah, just dial it back a little. Like,
I had this thought of like, yeah, totally right. I just like got to this place where I'm like, Flora, like, okay, so you've worked your ass off for like all these years. I've like written books, taught a million retreats, created like 5 online courses, like really gone for it, and I've built a thriving business. And in that, there's a lot of passive income now. Like it's working, And so I really had this moment where I was like, okay, if you don't dial it back now, like you're really missing the point of life,
Yeah.
It's gonna keep on this level of like create, how hard I was working basically, and not just like enjoy and focus on my health and things like that. It was like it was almost like there was a fork in the road. It's like, okay, you got to this point, like now what are you gonna do? And so I really, I was doing a lot of soul searching around like what, and so that's why I decided to end the subscription and not schedule the workshops. And I'm so glad I did. Like I'm like, okay, I didn't miss the whole point of all this hard work.
And good for you though, because I feel like a lot of it is actually we've just formed habits, and it's hard to habits are real. Habits dictate a lot of our lives, and so to sit back and say what is the point is huge, because you're basically making new habits, it sounds like, with the gym and your dog and all those things that I see other people doing, and it's because they're in the habit of doing them.
Yeah, that's such a good point. It really is just a habit. The more you do it, the more it becomes what you do.
Yeah. And the more we work becomes the way we live and see life. And sometimes I'm really grateful for that. And that work has paid off. But like you said, looking around and saying, oh, this has paid off. Now what am I going to do with it?
Yeah, I'm realizing there's seasons to things. It's like I'm really glad I did work that hard for all that time, because I got myself to a good place,
Yeah.
And so, but just realizing it doesn't have to be like the default mode forever.
Yeah, default mode. Good call.
Yes. Oh, you have, I don't know if we helped you, but I feel like you've helped us so
Yeah,
much.
I forgot that I even asked the question. I just needed this.
So good.
Well, Flora, you've experienced what we do here every month. So little check-ins.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. I'm so happy that you guys are doing this. I think it's such a wonderful thing. And I just feel like so often art communities can feel so fragmented in a city where like people aren't coming together in the way that you are. And so I think I would love to see Thrive happen in all the cities, in all the lands.
Yay, us too.
But then we have to look back. We have to sit back and say, what's the point? How are we doing? Check in.
Well, I think the thing is, and we're trying to do this, is we bake that into the whole process. We don't suddenly have 100 thrives and say, now what's the point now that I've had 7 heart attacks?
Bake it in. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the goal.
Well, I so appreciate you being here. We're just going to explain to everyone how you can get in touch with you and with Thrive. So if you want to get in touch with Thrive, our website is thriveartstudio.com. You can email us at info@thriveartstudio.com. And our Instagram is @thrivestudio, as well as the name of our Facebook page. So Flora, where can we find you online?
My website is florabowley.com, and my last name is Bowley, and I'm on Instagram @FloraBowley and Facebook @FloraBowley Designs. And I've got a newsletter that, like I mentioned, I do send out, I hope, helpful little tips and things on a weekly basis. So you can sign up for that on my homepage. And email is teamlove@florabowley.com.
I love that. I really love your newsletter, Flora. So keep going with it. after we were in Portland and we got to meet you, I was talking about you to my mom, and she subscribes, and it's so funny. She always forwards it to me with her own comment on everything.
I just love that.
Yeah. And she's just like, this is such a cool person that you met. And so I told her today that I was interviewing you, and she just felt like she knew you and couldn't believe it and had questions for me to ask. I was like, Mom, no, it's our own thing, Mom.
Start your own podcast, Mary.
Yeah.
I would listen to that. She's awesome.
So you have the Smiths are a real Flora fans over here.
That's really sweet. Thank you for listening.
And Flora, do you have any workshops or shows or events coming up? Are you back doing those?
We've got all the summer workshops are sold out, but I'll be announcing fall workshops next month, and we announce all of those in the newsletter. So that's the place to sign up for if you're interested in coming to do a workshop. And then I have one of my e-courses is called Creative Revolution, and we just launched what will be like the last round of a group of people moving through it together. It's a 7-week course. After that, it's going to be kind of an evergreen course. So if anyone wants to join an e-course this one is all about the creative living kind of thing I mentioned, like how to just weave creativity into every aspect of your life. So it's a different kind of course than my painting courses, but people just love it and seem to get a lot out of it. So that's called Creative Revolution, and you can still join.
And when does that one start? How long do they have till they can join?
Just you can join at any time, but it just started last week in terms of like this group going together. We used to run it like every 6 months, so it would always be a new group. But we're letting it be just for sale anytime. So that experience will change a little bit, but you can still hop in now and have that kind of experience of being with a group.
Awesome. That's great. And Tara, what about you, hun? Where can we find you?
You can find me on the internet at Tara Galuska on Instagram, and my website is taragaluska.com. How about you, Jamie?
I'm Jamie Smith Studio, and my website is jamiesmithstudio.com. So easy peasy.
So we want to say thank you so much, Flora, for being an amazing guest. We got to impress Jamie's mom by having you on here.
Seriously, I think this might be one of the bigger things she thinks I'm cool for.
This is finally Jamie's cool in her mom's eyes. And I know that this is going to be a real gift for people, and it has been for us, so thank you. And we've got to say thank you to Ellen, Lamin, and Victoria for all your hard work and support every month here at Thrive. Big thank you to Marty and Laurie from Sonance Media for your help with the podcast. We would not have a podcast without you. And thanks also to everyone who's been supporting the podcast by subscribing, sharing, and reviewing it. It means so much to us. Also, we should mention that we have a private Facebook group for female visual artists. So it's called Female Artists Unite, and we would love to invite you to join. So thanks for listening, and remember to do the work.
To learn more about the program and to apply, head on over to thriveartstudio.com/mastermind. We can't wait to hear from you.